Hey guys, it's Morgan with BDSM Relationships and Education. Thank you so much for checking out my channel and this video specifically. We are going to be talking today about one of the ways that you can evaluate whether a potential partner is a safe person to play with or not. I want this to become a whole series where we can talk about different sort of red flags, and I've done some red flag videos before, but I think the sound quality on them was really poor. So I'm going to try to redo those videos and expand on them. So today we are going to be talking about one of the ways that you can evaluate a potential partner. But before we get into that, I do want to mention that my partner Sage, who is a brilliant artist, and myself have come together to create some really cool merch. So I've been showing off our practice pillows. So this is a pillow, and I always tell you guys to practice your BDSM skills using a pillow so you can flog or cane or spank or whatever. So we've got a chest and a bottom, just because those are the sort of most common areas to play around with, and they made the sexiest pillows so that you can play around and practice your BDSM. I'll have a link for that in the description box, and if you are less crazy about the more feminine presentation here, we do have a more masculine pillow that you can see in the background. So let's get into the video today. So this is one of those things where I don't want you guys to sort of, say, so this is evaluating how a person reacts to the word no, all right? We need to get that out of the way. It'll be in the description or in the title of the video, but just to make ourselves clear. But I don't want you guys to just arbitrarily say no or be unreasonable about it just to like as a test kind of thing. I really do not believe in testing people or setting them up for these kind of things. I think that it really does need to be an organic thing, right? So if they suggest something and you say no to it because it's just not something you're into, but don't just, if they say, I don't know, hey, do you want to meet up on Thursday? And you say, no, can't be Thursday, just for the sake of saying no, right? Don't do that. Just if it comes up organically. So there's lots and lots of different ways to find out if somebody has sort of this potential of being a good partner or a very bad partner, somebody that may be dangerous to you or that, may not respect consent or whatever it is. So there's not really like a specific test. Like I can't say, okay, do steps 1 through 8 and that will tell you, it's life isn't that simple. People are complicated. But how they react to you saying no to something, to you putting limits, for you asserting boundaries, any of those kind of things, that can tell you a lot about a person. So if, I'm talking to somebody and I clearly state a boundary and I say, for instance, we're going to go back to the limits thing that I've been talking about this a couple of times recently. If I say, well, one of my hard limits is verbal humiliation. I don't like it. It makes me feel icky. I don't do it. And then they turn around and tell me that I'm too nice to be a dominant or that I'm not a real dominant or whatever, that tells me a lot about them. That tells me that they don't actually respect the way I feel, in that this is my hard limit, it doesn't make me feel good, so I don't do this, all of that kind of stuff. And by telling me, oh, you're not a real dom, or if they say if you're on the other side of the slash and they say, well, you're not a real sub because you don't want to receive this activity or whatever, that is a manipulation tactic. That is, if I put enough pressure on you, you will do what I want and ignore your own feelings about the subject and make yourself uncomfortable so that I can be happy or whatever, right? Now, these things may be an incompatibility. If somebody's like main kink is verbal humiliation and it's my hard limit, then we probably are not going to be compatible as partners. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it doesn't make either of us not a real dom, not a real sub, or whatever. It just makes us incompatible. And so there's a really big difference there. So ideally, what we want to have happen is if you state a limit or say no or assert a boundary or whatever, we want people to be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, you're not into that, or, oh, okay, you don't want me to do that, or whatever. Another example for me would be that I don't like to be touched very much. I have chronic pain. A lot of my body hurts. Well, all of my body hurts all the time. But there are areas that hurt a lot more than others. And so I just generally don't like to be touched. Once I'm much more comfortable with somebody, things can change. But certainly in the beginning, I don't like people to touch me without asking permission first. And even then, I quite often say no. So if somebody is like, oh, okay, cool, I'll remember to ask you in the future, and I'm really sorry, or anything like that, if they have a good reaction like that, then I know that this is a person who is generally going to be respectful, or I can assume, rather, that this is a person who will hopefully be respectful of my boundaries in the future and who respects what I say and can handle that kind of thing. But if they turn around and say, well, that's just weird, why wouldn't you want to be touched? Or, you just need to get over it. Or, you're not a real dom, you're not a real sub, you're not a real whatever. Like, that is a problem. That is a huge problem, because all I've done is, and I always do it politely because I can't help myself, and I'm Canadian, and all of those things, but, I've politely asserted a boundary and said, this causes me physical pain, and then they react poorly to me. What does that tell me about them? That they are going to ignore every other boundary I set because it's not good enough. My reasoning isn't good enough, or whatever. You don't even need to give a reason if you're asserting a boundary. All you could say is, please don't touch me without asking first. That is all you need to do. You don't even need the please. Let's be serious here, but I can't help it see those other reasons. But, that's all you have to say. Don't touch me without permission. So if they react poorly to that, we know. Another sort of like common thing, because quite often people are going to hear this if they are submissive and talking to a potential dominant, they will hear, well, you're a sub or you're a slave or whatever. You don't get to say no. And it's like, that's not how this works. First of all, everything needs to be consensual. And while we can negotiate a relationship dynamic where one person does not get to say no, they still can say no by leaving the relationship. And the only reason that they don't get to say no is because they've negotiated that, And again, like with those kind of relationships, that's usually people that know each other really, really well. And like my partner, he's allowed to say no to me. He does all the time, but he also knows that I would never tell him to do something that, would harm him, that, I always have his best interests in mind. But, that's because we've been together for 5 years, we've, maybe more. I'll have to ask him. He keeps track of that stuff. But, we've been together for a long time. So we know each other well, and we know, okay, I know what are his limits and what he's willing to do. So that's a huge red flag. You're not allowed to say no is a huge red flag, because you know what? Submissives, slaves, however you choose to identify, if you are on that side of the slash, it's okay. Like, you still get to say no. You still get to negotiate for what you want and need out of a relationship. And if one of those things is not saying no, cool, you do you. But, there's no hard and fast rule that you're not allowed to say no. Another sort of bad reaction, red flag kind of thing is if they get moody or angry, if you've said no or asserted a boundary, if, you get, well, okay, whatever. That tells you a lot. Because if I get upset and I get moody and I get pissy every time I'm told no, You know, that says a lot about me. And again, it's a manipulation tactic. It's, you don't want me to be like this because this isn't pleasant, and so I'm going to act really awful until you give me what I want, because apparently I didn't learn anything past, 3 years old or whatever it is. Like how children will throw a temper tantrum if you tell them no. It's the same thing. It's just the grown-up version of it. So yeah, if they get moody, if they get angry, if you tell them no and they have to like go on a bender and get wasted and whatever and cheat or all of those kind of things. I've seen all of this kind of shit in either my own relationships, because I've had some doozies, or in, relationships that my friends have been in, all these kind of things. This is a problem. This is not a healthy relationship if that's what's happening. And if you are just in the beginning of negotiating a potential relationship, and it doesn't even exist yet, it's not a relationship yet, and they're doing that kind of thing, man, save yourself that trouble and walk away, because you will be happy later on, because that's not going to go anywhere good. So, like I said, I don't want you guys to go out and just say no arbitrarily, because it's not meant as like a test necessarily, because again, I don't like those kind of things. I think that in and of itself is problematic behavior if you are going to be testing people. But we should always pay attention to how people react when we assert our own boundaries, when we place a limit, any of those kind of things. Having limits, having healthy boundaries are really, really important to being a healthy human being in general, to having healthy relationships with others, whether it's romantic relationships, DS relationships, if you keep those things separate, friendships, you name it. We all need to have those healthy boundaries for any sort of relationship to actually work. So pay attention to the way people react to what you're saying, and when you're saying, this is what I need, or whatever, right? Or that is outside of what I want, and it's a limit, So anyways, guys, I hope that I've made myself clear there. If you do have any questions about it, let me know in the comment section. I'm sure you will. All right, guys, I just want to say thank you so much for checking out this video, and especially if you have made it all the way to the end. You guys are rock stars. Anyways, I'm going to leave it there, and I will see you in the next video. Don't forget, get your practice pillows. They're fun to, cuddle up with, too. Bye, guys.